Hello, my name is RJ Muraski, and I have the privilege of serving as the Director of Planning for the North Texas Municipal Water District, and I'd like to welcome you to this training presentation. In early 2024, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service designated a species of freshwater mussels found in the Trinity River Basin called Transilia macrodon, or more commonly known as the Texas fawn's foot, as protected under the Endangered Species Act. This marks the first time an aquatic species in the Trinity Basin has received these protections. Why is this important to us? Well, this designation has the potential to have wide-ranging effects on the regulatory landscape. We at North Texas Municipal Water District have been working closely with our partners in the region, the cities of Dallas, Fort Worth, Trinity River Authority, and the Tarrant Regional Water District, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Our goal is to ensure that all of operations in maintaining critical water supplies, wastewater treatment services, and solid waste disposal can continue while protecting several at-risk species in our basin. Currently, 4 species of freshwater mussels and 2 species of turtles have been identified in our basin. Also in 2024, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service approved a Candidate Conservation Agreement with Assurances, or CCAA, and an incidental take permit for these species. The Trinity River Authority serves as the permit holder, and the NTMWD operates under Certificate of Inclusion. This 10-year agreement provides legal protection for our routine operations and maintenance activities. In return, we've committed to implementing specific Best Management Practices, or BMPs, designated to protect and conserve the covered species. In this training video, you'll learn how to incorporate these BMPs into your daily work and tasks. By following these practices, we can ensure compliance with our permit and help conserve at-risk species while continuing to deliver critical services to the public. Thank you for your attention, and Ryan, please take it away.
Hello. My name is Ryan Seymour, and I'm an environmental scientist with the Trinity River Authority and the project manager for the Trinity River CCAA. Today, we'll discuss the 6 covered species and where interactions might occur, focusing first on freshwater mussels and then moving to turtles. Then, we will introduce some best management practices that our organizations have agreed to implement to protect the covered species and how to report encounters if they do occur. Importantly, these BMPs will apply to your organization's contractors and vendors, so make sure to share the video with them as well. Freshwater mussels are sometimes referred to as rocks with lungs. These species spend their entire life in the sediments of lakes and rivers, providing a significant ecological role in improving water quality and providing an important food source for fish and other organisms. The CCAA was created to protect 4 species of native freshwater mussel: the Texas fawn's foot, Texas heel splitter, Louisiana pigtoe, and the Trinity pigtoe. These 4 mussels prefer flowing waters and medium to large rivers where they can be found near the banks or at the top end of riffles. Because freshwater mussels are relatively immobile, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has designated some water bodies with known populations as occupied water bodies. The occupied water bodies that overlap with the covered parties' service areas include the Elm Fork Trinity below Lake Louisville, the main stem Trinity from the Elm and West Fork confluence to I-20, the East Fork below Lake Ray Hubbard, the main stem Trinity River from FM 85 in Navarre County to the dam at Lake Livingston, and below Lake Livingston from US 59 to Romare. The covered species are protected wherever they occur and can be found outside of these water bodies. So please be vigilant even when working outside these known occupied reaches. Also, these reaches may change, so make sure to contact your CCAA representative to see if your duties overlap with newly occupied waters. Covered turtles, on the other hand, are mobile, and their range is not as well defined as freshwater mussels. Covered parties could potentially interact with turtles within the Trinity River, its tributaries, or while working in the surrounding riparian areas. Riparian areas are defined as the margins of streams, rivers, or intermittent draws where vegetation is strongly influenced by the presence of water. We have highlighted some examples here. The first of our covered turtle species is the western chicken turtle. It's a highly mobile, medium-sized turtle that prefers sandy wetland ecosystems. It is commonly confused with the red ear slider in Texas, but can be identified by a single solid yellow bar on its front legs and vertical yellow stripes on its rump. The western chicken turtle can be found near water bodies between the months of February and July, but spends up to 9 months out of the year burrowed underground in sandy wetland areas. The other covered turtle is the alligator snapping turtle. Best described as a modern-day dinosaur, the alligator snapping turtle is the largest freshwater turtle in the US and is an apex predator. Frequently confused with the common snapping turtle, the alligator snapping turtle can be identified by its beak-like mouth, spiked shell with 3 prominent ridges, and a red worm-like lure in its mouth used to attract fish. The alligator snapping turtle spends most of its life in slow-moving water, where it has lots of structure like down trees and root wads. But females move into riparian areas from March until May to lay their eggs. Now that you have learned about our 6 covered species and where interactions might occur, let's go over some best management practices. The best management practices are guidelines intended to avoid harm to the covered species while facilitating your ability to complete your duties. These BMPs were developed over the past year with input from members representing all 5 covered parties and have been approved by the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. It is important to remember, BMPs do not replace the need to follow state and federal regulations for your projects. Today, we will cover the Section 10 BMPs, which were designed for routine operation and maintenance activities, and the Section 7 BMPs, designed for new construction projects. First, some definitions important to the BMPs. Take, as defined under the Endangered Species Act, means to harass, harm, pursue, hunt, shoot, wound, kill, trap, capture, or collect, or attempt to engage in any such conduct. Incidental take is the take of a threatened or endangered species incidentally during an otherwise lawful activity. Incidental take is unintentional but not unexpected. Remember that in all cases, to intentionally cause harm to these animals is illegal. Section 10 BMPs apply to your routine operations and are designed to minimize take to the covered species. Examples would include levee mowing, routine inspections and maintenance, reservoir operations, wastewater treatment, or other habitat modifications needed to access infrastructure. The Section 10 BMPs are as follows. Make sure all routine operations and maintenance activities follow all state and federal regulations, especially the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department's Aquatic Resource Relocation Plans, or ARPs, and Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act. Provide covered species-specific educational materials to all subcontractors. Contents of the material should focus on the general identification, habitat, and avoidance measures for these species. Regularly inspect all vehicles that work within riparian areas for fluid leaks and other maintenance issues. Drive slowly through riparian areas and tall vegetation, making sure to look out for turtles during the spring and early summer. Avoid disturbing streams or riparian areas by clearing only necessary vegetation and following proper sediment and erosion control measures. Once the work is complete, return any disturbance to pre-existing conditions, or better when feasible. Stage equipment and materials outside of the riparian area if feasible, and bring it in only when needed. And lastly, make sure your coffer dam and silt fencing are made of non-toxic materials. Section 7 BMPs will apply to any project with a federal nexus and will generally require additional permitting through a federal agency. Any take under Section 7 is covered by a separate federal permit, not by the incidental take permit associated with the CCAA. In addition to the BMPs for Section 10, these BMPs outline additional procedures we have agreed to follow during the design and implementation phase of Section 7 projects. Before beginning a project, make sure to evaluate the project's potential area of impact for any covered species. If interactions are expected, avoidance measures should be implemented and appropriate authorities contacted. If you have to operate a vehicle within a waterway, make sure your project complies with all state and federal laws and/or has appropriate permits. Lastly, when feasible, incorporate natural channel and riparian design elements into your projects. To comply with our Section 10 incidental take permit, TRA must report take for all covered parties annually to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. You should report any take under your routine operations to your entity's CCAA representative, who will then notify the TRA of the encounter. We will now go through a few scenarios of interactions with covered species and how to report them. An alligator snapping turtle is observed swimming near your project area but keeps its distance. Because you have not disturbed the turtle, it does not count as take and does not need to be reported to your CCAA representative. If you can, snap a photo without harassing the animal and submit the sighting to TRA's Alligator Snapping Turtle Reporting Tool. It's as simple as scanning this QR code on screen, bookmarking the page for later use, and then uploading the photo of the alligator snapping turtle with your location when sightings do occur. An alligator snapping turtle is observed within the work area, and no permitted biologist is present who can legally handle the species. Pause work and allow the turtle to leave on its own before resuming. Immediately report this to your CCAA representative and report the sighting using the Alligator Snapping Turtle Reporting Tool. A pipeline breaks and releases effluent into the Trinity River. Contact your CCAA representative to determine if the spill impacts any of the covered species. They will notify the TRA if it does need to be considered for take. Also, if the spill results in a fish kill, please contact the Texas Parks and Wildlife Kills and Spills team at 512-389-4848 and follow all normal spill procedures. Lastly, we understand that avoidance to the covered species is not always possible when it comes to your Section 10 activities. Thus, in rare instances when there is an emergency or immediate danger to human health or safety, for example responding to a broken pipeline or sewer overflow, we are allowed to temporarily suspend one or multiple of the BMPs to provide a timely response. To reiterate, if an emergency arises, take the actions necessary to mitigate the emergency, then report what happened and any potential impacts to the covered species to your supervisor, who will then report to your entity's CCAA representative. At the bottom of both BMP documents, we have included our contact information as well as the contact information for your entity's CCAA representative to aid in reporting and to ask compliance questions. We believe the development of this CCAA will have profound implications not only for the covered species, but for all species, while ensuring our critical water supply and wastewater operations can continue to provide for the needs of the citizens of Texas. Thank you for your time today.